I'm Claire, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing my review of Holo Taco's April Fool's Day release, the Haute Garbage collection, or if you want to be less fancy about it, Hot Garbage. To give some background, last year Holo Taco released a limited edition cream polish called Born Ugly, which was a dark olive color, and it was inspired by an Australian study conducted to determine the most unappealing color for cigarette packaging to deter people from buying them. But it turned out that a lot of people wanted to buy a polish in this color, so not only did Holo Taco bring back Born Ugly, they also made 3 other polishes in this brownish olive green. And because I love greens in the swampy, pruggly range, I bought them. And I have swatches to show you, along with some general thoughts about this release, so let's get into it. Holo Taco is a boutique nail polish brand based in the US and founded by Christine from the Simply Nailogical YouTube channel. And their Hot Garbage collection is made up of 4 polishes in the same ugly color but different finishes, a holo glitter, a linear crushed holo hybrid, a magnetic, and the cream from last year. This collection is limited edition and will most likely sell out during the loyalty sale, but we'll talk more about that later. For now, I'll focus on the polishes. So first is Sparkly Shit, which is an olive green in Holo Taco's classic holo glitter formula. The base is green, and the glitters seem to be gold, which adds to that overall yellowish tone. I would say that as holo glitters go, this one has one of the more pigmented bases. Like if you saw my last video where I showed some of the Pixel Perfect polishes, those have super sheer or even clear bases, and most of the color comes from the glitter. But in this polish, because the glitters are gold, the base has to be more strongly tinted to get that green color. And the downside of that is that you do see some slight unevenness in the base in the first coat, but the upside is that the coverage builds up a bit more. I did still do 3 coats, the same as I would with other glitters, but I think that with shorter nails or thicker coats it would look good in 2, because it's not just relying on the glitters for coverage. It is still a jelly base, so you'll be able to see through the free edge in certain lighting regardless, but not to the same extent as with other glitters. But yeah, overall a good formula, not too thick, and it evens out well enough once you build it up. And it's very holographic. The more pigmented base does not cover up the sparkle. So I really like this polish. I'm a fan of holo glitters, and I don't have any in this color range. It's fun to pair a really pretty finish with a less pretty color. Like, I love olive green. I don't think it's an ugly color. I wear it all the time. But if you're gonna call any of the polishes from this collection pruggly, I feel like this is the one. Just the combination of the browny green with the yellowy gold glitters, it's definitely swampy. That's not a bad thing though. I'm really happy this polish exists. Holo Taco doesn't do a ton of pruggly polishes, and their glitters are fairly sporadic, so the fact that we got a pruggly glitter is very fun. Next up, we've got Dirty Martini in a new finish for Holo Taco. It has both linear holo and crushed holo pigment. Linear holo is what gives that uniform rainbow flare, and crushed holo means that there are a bunch of tiny holo flakes which give a more scattered effect. I was curious how it would perform, since Holo Taco's linears tend to be very opaque, and some of the crushed holos are pretty opaque too, but some, like the barista shades, have more of a jelly feel. And on the first coat, this did feel closer to a crushed holo. It was definitely not opaque. I did a fairly thin coat, and it didn't give a ton of coverage. But then I went in with a slightly thicker second coat, and that built up the coverage quite a lot, more than I was expecting, to the point that I didn't feel the need to do a third. It wasn't to the point of being totally opaque in all lighting, but in most of the shots I take for my swatch footage, you can't see any nail line. So I'll call it a 2 to 3 coater, depending on nail length and thickness of coats and personal preference. It's a good formula, and it's another one I really enjoy. I love when Holo Taco plays around with different finishes they haven't done before. Because of all the holo in there, I feel like the olive color is a little more grayed out, but it is still green, and I think that the slight desaturation is worth it because the double holo gives a fun effect. In direct lighting, you do get that linear flare, but there are also times that it looks a bit more diffused, like a linear aura. And then in low lighting, when you're not really seeing the rainbows, you do get the nice visual texture that crushed holos have, that to me makes them more interesting than linears, which basically look like nothing in low light. So I do hope that we see more of these crushed linear holos. Then there's the magnetic, called No Smoking. It has a deep olive base with a reddish amber to gold to green multichrome magnetic pigment. So it's a more simple magnetic, there's no extra flakies or holo, but there is at least a color shifty aspect. I show magnetics a couple different ways. I like to start out by showing the first couple coats unmagnetized because sometimes you just don't feel like using the magnet. And with simple magnetics like this, they end up just looking like shimmer polishes. You can see the first coat was on the sheer side, that base is kind of jellyish, but then it built up fairly well with the second coat. The intensity of the shimmer helps mask the nail line, even if it's not fully opaque. And then once I painted my third coat, I brought in the horseshoe magnet, which is what gives the velvet effect. It pulls up all the magnetic pigment so it looks more plush and three-dimensional. And I think this is a good effect to do with more simple magnetics like this, since they look so glassy. At some angles, the shimmer totally disappears, and at other angles, it shows up super prominently. I didn't do the best job magnetizing. My top coat kind of made the effect a little streaky, but hopefully you still get the idea. And then I also swatched No Smoking with the cat eye effect, using just the standard nail magnet under my nail to pull the pigment into a line. And I feel like that gives you a better idea of what the base is like and how sheer it is. I did kind of a bad job of applying the first coat, so there's some pooling near my cuticle, but towards the tip of my nail you can see that it's basically a jelly base. It does build up quite a bit with the next two coats, not quite to the point that I would call it a blackened olive, but it is fairly dark. It does still kind of maintain that jelly quality though. And I do like this polish. It's the one that I was most on the fence about getting because more simple magnetics aren't always my favorite, and I have a green magnetic that's a little similar. But what sold me, other than wanting to get the full set, is that I can wear it unmagnetized, and I like the color combo and the color shift. Plus, the sheerness means that it has some layering potential. You might have seen the short where I layered all the polishes from this collection, and the last two layers were Sparkly Shit and No Smoking. And No Smoking is sheer enough that you can see the glitters underneath it, which makes it look like a more complex magnetic polish, which I prefer. So it's still not my favorite from the collection, but it's a good polish. I do also want to throw in a little polished yogi style comparison for No Smoking. I don't really have the bandwidth to do a lot of comparisons for this collection, but when I saw No Smoking, my first thought was that I might not really need it because I have Tales of Ba Sing Se from Mooncat. So I put them side by side on the nail in the cat eye effect, in case anyone else is wondering about potential similarities. Because on paper, they're both dark green bases with multichrome magnetic pigment and no extra elements. But they actually are fairly different. Starting with the bases, No Smoking is much murkier. It's definitely that brownish olive color, where Tales of Ba Sing Se is a very true, saturated green. It's even brighter than I remember from when I first wore it. The multichrome pigment is also different. There are some overlapping colors, but No Smoking is that reddish amber to gold to green, where Tales of Ba Sing Se is yellow to green to a little bit of aqua. And even though No Smoking is maybe a bit darker, it's also more sheer, Tales of Ba Sing Se doesn't have that same jelly quality. So, not dupes. Whether or not it makes sense to get both depends on your collection and how much you like these shades of green. And there's also the factor of availability. They're both limited edition, but Mooncat keeps their limited polishes around longer. But you also can't get Tales of Ba Sing Se or any of the rest of the Avatar collab outside of the US and Canada, so maybe No Smoking is a better option for you. Either way, hopefully that was helpful. And last is the cream, Born Ugly. I bought this polish when it first came out last year, so I'm just showing my swatch from then. That's why my nail is shorter. And really, there's not a whole lot to say about this polish. It's a Holo Taco cream, so it's kind of thick and it has really good coverage. I did 2 coats because the first one did have some slight thin spots, but it was totally opaque in the second coat. And I think it's a really nice color. I wouldn't call it a prugly. I think it would need more brown or yellow in it to cross over into the prugly range. It's just a nice, natural, earthy green. There are lots of options for creams in this color range. Nicole Loves Nails did a lot of comparisons when Born Ugly first came out, so if you miss out on it, it's not the end of the world, but if you like this color, it's a solid polish. So yeah, those are all the polishes. I thought they were really nice. It's hard for me to pick a favorite, but I would say that I like the 2 holos a little more than the magnetic. They're more unique to my collection, and the cream just isn't as exciting. When it comes to more general thoughts, When I do my collection reactions, I usually talk about the color story, the finishes, and the theme, so it probably makes sense to do that here as well. With color story, obviously it's very cohesive. These polishes are all kind of the same color, which is actually pretty unusual. I feel like the only brand I can think of who regularly does a monochrome collection with different finishes is Painted Polish. Brands are usually trying to be in the range of cohesive but not repetitive. But if you have any more examples of collections like this, let me know in the comments. I think the reason that Holo Taco is able to get away with the color repetition this time is the theme, the fact that it's an April Fool's Day release, almost a gimmick, and there's just enough color variety that the polishes are pretty distinct. Sparkly Shit has the gold glitter, Dirty Martini is a little more muted, No Smoking brings in another color with the magnetic pigment, so we get a good range without departing too much from the original Born Ugly color. It really feels like an ode to olive green, which I love, even though it's in the context of calling the color ugly. And I know we probably won't see collections like this from Holo Taco very often, but I feel like it would actually be really fun for them to do this type of capsule collection for other less popular colors that don't tend to make the cut for regular releases. So that brings us to finishes, which I did already touch on a bit. We got a lot of variety, which I love. I appreciate that we got a glitter since we don't tend to see those super often. And for a brand that's known for linear holos, we haven't gotten that many in the past few years, so it's fun to see a new one, especially with a different twist. I'm curious to see if they'll do more of this linear crushed combo going forward. Based on what Christine said during the launch stream, it might depend on the response to this one. And they have been doing more magnetics lately, but I enjoy how different this one is from the others they've done. Then there's the cream, which is not the most exciting, but Holo Taco makes good creams, so I'm not going to complain about it being available again. Overall, I'm happy with the finishes they chose. Like, they could have done something different, some flakies, some reflective glitter, but I'm not like, oh, I wish we had gotten something else instead, because what we did get is nice. And then there's the theme. I think the best way to describe it is kind of all over the place, but effective. Like, there's a lot of different angles. There's the anti-smoking angle, since the color is based on unappealing cigarette packaging. There's the olive angle because of the color, which they emphasized with the Dirty Martini polish name. And then there's the general dirty, gross garbage vibe with kind of a trashy lifestyle angle. Like, the backgrounds of the polish photos look like the side table of someone who thinks they're cool and fancy, but they actually have really bad taste and are unpleasant to be around. So there's a lot going on, but somehow it all kind of works together because the person with the messy side table is also a smoker who drinks dirty martinis, I guess. And as someone who unironically really likes the color of these polishes, am I slightly offended that this collection is being presented as gross and ugly? Maybe, but I also feel like this is the most entertaining theme we've had in a while. Like, they actually had fun with it and didn't worry too much about the normie customers who I feel like they've been catering to lately. So I'm not going to complain about it too much. But what I will complain about is the fact that this collection is limited edition, and it's coming out in the same month as the Royalty collection, which is almost certainly also going to be limited edition. I was just saying in my last reaction video that Holo Taco has been doing better with their release schedule this year and spacing things out a little more, and then they did this. And honestly, I'm not really mad that this collection is limited edition, because I feel like there's no way we would have gotten 4 gross greens otherwise, but it's bad timing considering what's coming later this month with the Royalty collection and the sale that happens at the same time. Like Linry pointed out in her Dupe It Out video, a lot of people are going to want to wait to place an order until the sale, but then they'll have to worry about whether the Hot Garbage collection is still in stock at that point, or if it sells out really fast once people start placing their sale orders. Things are also complicated by the free shipping threshold, which is $59 for non-international customers. In my order, I got the 3 new polishes and also one of the jellies from the previous collection, and that got me to free shipping. And because I know that newer polishes don't go on sale, for me it made sense to go ahead and place my order because I'd be spending the same amount on these polishes whether I bought them at the start of the month or with my Royalty sale order. But if you only buy the 3 new polishes, you don't get to free shipping, and if you want the 3 new polishes plus Born Ugly, the prices do add up to $59.50, but they're available in a bundle for a discounted price, So if you want the discount, you don't get free shipping unless you add something else to your order. For me, it worked out, but some people are going to be weighing a lot of different factors, waiting to place an order, and potentially being disappointed depending on when things sell out. Like, I don't expect them to plan a collection around the free shipping threshold, but 2 limited edition releases in 1 month is just not great. I'm happy we got this collection because I love the polishes, and I see why they did it when they did, but it's just not ideal, and I worry that it's going to become a pattern every April. But yeah, I think that's all I have to say about the hot garbage collection. Thank you to everyone who's watching till the end. Let me know in the comments if you have a favorite polish from the collection, if you bought any of it, or if you're planning to try and get it during the sale. And if you enjoyed this video, I would love it if you would leave me a like or maybe even subscribe. Thank you to everyone who has already subscribed, and I'll see you next time. Bye!